So Cowboys training camp is this very month, and we get ready with one of the best insiders in the game, Joe Hoyt from the Dallas Morning News. Let's go. Training camp is almost here, Oxnard, California. From what you've seen so far, what are some of the top training camp battles that you're excited to watch? I'll start with one here very quickly and see what you've got.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited about the edge rushers. Like, I know Micah is going to be on one side. I really don't know who's going to be on the other because you've got Donovan Eziraku, the rookie. You've got Marshawn Nealon, who might be the better run defender in the group. There's also Sam Williams. It's an exciting group. And then obviously Dante Fowler Jr., who might be in line to start. I don't even know. I think he was my projected starter the other day when I did a lineup for A to Z Sports, but it's an exciting group. What are you looking forward the most when we get to training camp?
Yeah, I love that that's the first one you went off with because I think it is a really good one. I think truly that it's going to be a rotation opposite of Micah Parsons. But here's kind of the key factor I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see Micah Parsons line up in the A-gap and off-ball maybe a little bit more than what he did. Like that's kind of one thing I'm theorizing. So in that case, you might have a Donovan Eziraku on one side, a Dante Fowler on the other, and then a Micah Parsons in the A-gap, right, playing off Osa Odigizua. Or Mozzie Smith. Like that's something I could see happening. I don't know how frequent that will happen, but I could see that kind of lineup. I foresee a rotation. The guy I do think Donovan Eziraku is a guy that is kind of ready to go soon. Like I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him play a good amount. I'm curious about Marshawn Nealon, and then Sam Williams is the wild card contract year, big year for him. I'm very curious to see what happens with him. I think the biggest position battle potentially, and I don't even know if I call it a battle. It's just more of a question mark, is just cornerback. Is just what is going to happen with corner. Savone Rebel is a guy that I think is extremely talented. I think whenever he is healthy and ready to go, like this is a guy that could be a starting corner for the Dallas Cowboys this year. The big caveat being when is he going to be fully ready to go, both physically and mentally. I think that's something we see it all the time, right, Mauricio, where it's like, oh, torn ACL, step right back in, you're good, right? You'll take off running immediately. And I think that, it's possible with him. I think one thing, if you have ever heard Savone Rebel talk, like this is a guy that's very, confident. He's already withstood so much in terms of his adversity. He takes adversity in stride, and I think it's very fascinating. He's had to work for everything he's gotten. I don't think that in terms of the mental kind of get back is going to be that big of a hurdle for him, but it's something just to monitor with anyone with torn ACLs. Obviously, Trayvon Diggs, not expected to be ready for the start of the season. So, are you going to have Kyrie Elam and then Savone Rebel outside? Is he going to be ready to go in week one with Deron Bland in the slot? Or do you go Deron Bland in the slot or outside with Kyrie Elam and maybe a guy like Keemon Hall in the slot or Israel McQuamu? I think these are some of the questions we're going to have to see in terms of how ready another corner is going to be ready to go. The other guy, too, I talked to Kalen Carson a little bit. He was really banged up last year. After the Baltimore game, that Derrick Henry stiff arm, I think he was really banged up last year, kind of more than what people really knew. Had surgery in December. He's a guy that, was kind of creeping into team drills at the end of minicamp. He's someone that should be ready to go for training camp. I'm curious to see how Kalen Carson can bounce back. After I thought he had a strong start against Cleveland, and then, obviously things got kind of a little haywire after that Saints and Baltimore game last year. So that's something I'm curious to watch, especially with Kyrie Elam, who has become the consistent in the secondary all of a sudden. Like this is a guy that I think maybe a change of pace, change of scenery could do really well for his confidence. I talked to some people in Buffalo that cover the team, and kind of one of their things was, hey man, he was just never put in the right system. Yep. And then, he had all these kind of high expectations, and then he was then asked to be thrown in and spot of the moment kind of moments. If you kind of look at that AFC Championship game last year, he didn't start that game, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs kind of torched him, but he wasn't expecting to start, stepped in. It just didn't go well. I think confidence is huge for Kyrie Elam, and so far I think the Cowboys have given him a lot of reason to be confident. Last thing I'll kind of leave you with is the tight end room. I know that there was some chatter in minicamp, like Jake Ferguson's job's in trouble. I don't believe that. I think Jake Ferguson, especially if you look at the last team minicamp practice, he was targeted often, and I think that's a relationship in terms of his chemistry with Dak Prescott that's unique. Obviously, he's not the most elite blocker, but that's why I think that Brevin Spann-Ford is actually taking another step. I think this is a guy in terms of blocking was ready to go day one last year in terms of being a blocker. I think that he's someone that, the Cowboys are confident that with his frame, he could take another step in terms of being a pass catcher. I'm curious to see how the tight end room shakes out. Will there be a lot of 2 tight end personnel? Will Brevin Spann-Ford supplant Luke Schoonmaker, which kind of feels like a battle that's gonna happen? I think that's where my eyes are really going. And I think, interestingly enough, Mauricio, where our eyes are not going is whether or not the first round pick is going to play, because Tyler Booker is that is solidified. That is the day one starter. I think he is someone I'm really excited just to watch, because they have all the confidence in the world in Tyler Booker, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see him play.
The night that they drafted him, they were like, "Oh yeah, he's an immediate starter." Stephen Jones said it. Brian Schottenheimer said it. They didn't sugarcoat it. It was like, Brock Hoffman, thank you for participating, my guy. And that kind of ended there. Now, could there be a shakeup in the offensive line long term? We'll see, I guess, in training camp. But you mentioned the tight ends. Another reason why I'm excited about the tight ends is Brevin Spann-Ford made it as an undrafted free agent in 2024. John Stevens Jr. doesn't suffer a season-ending injury in 2023, he would have made it, according to the Cowboys, right? That's what they told us back then. Now you have 2 UDFA guys, Rivaldo Fairweather from Auburn, you have Tyler Neville from Virginia, is participating in tight end university and everything. Like, that part is also exciting to me, but not only them. Justin Barron over with the UDFAs in the defensive side of the ball. You got Elijah Clark. Do you envision one of these undrafted free agents having a legitimate shot at the 53-man roster? Because I always go by guaranteed money, right? I always look at the guaranteed money first when it comes to UDFAs. And Elijah Clark is the guy that they paid the most. But that's also a very hard nut to crack, right? You got a loaded group of safeties with the backups, Juan J. Thomas, Marquise Bell, receiving deals this offseason. What do you envision out of the UDFAs this year?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of, usually history would tell us, Mauricio, that one of these undrafted free agents is going to make it. And usually it's someone that has a lot of guaranteed money. We saw with Brevin Spann-Ford last year, right? I think that they, in terms of guaranteed money, they have 2 guys that are high up there, and that's Justin Barron from Syracuse and Elijah Clark from Syracuse. And Elijah played a lot during this mini camp and OTAs. With the 2s, he was mostly there, but he rotated with the 1s too, frankly, just because Malik Hooker was dealing with injuries. We're still waiting on Donovan Wilson to come back. He didn't participate in any team drills. And then, Juan J. Thomas and Marquise Bell. So I think if Elijah Clark is going to make this team, you got to ask yourself, are they carrying 5 safeties, or is he supplanting, and he's going to be a special teams guy too, or is he supplanting one of those 4? I think it'd be hard to supplant one of the 4 that's out there, barring injury. Unless Elijah balls out and maybe Marquise takes a step back, for example, right? But that's going to be something to watch. Whether they could afford to take 5 safeties. I'm not sure they could, considering CJ Goodwin too. And that's a guy that always, you never know. Justin Barron is another one where it's like, okay, if he's going to make the team, does that mean Buddy Johnson doesn't make the team? Does that mean Damone Clark gets cut? Does that mean Shamar James starts out on PUP or something? And because he missed minicamp, that was just, I'm not saying he's going to. That's just, saying hypothetically if he gets injured or something. So I think those 2 are tough. I'm curious to see more about the tight ends. I didn't really see a lot out of them too much during minicamp and OTAs. Princeton Fant was more of a guy involved than those 2, another former UDFA. So we'll see. I think it could be tough for UDFA to make this team. Before the Pickens trade, you thought maybe what if Trayshawn Holden comes out or Josh Kelly plays really well? I'd expect both those guys to contend for practice squad spots. So we'll see. I think UDFA might be tougher than normal than years past to make this team.
For more Cowboys content, check out AtoZSports.com/Dallas, and also check out Joe Hoyt over at Dallas Morning News. Bye-bye.